Well, a colorful light show on the Arctic Circle in Finland. The northern lights are on full display. Guests at the Arctic Snow Hotel got to enjoy green, pink, purple, and white lights as all these colors danced across the sky for several hours. Many locals said this was the strongest they've ever. The northern lights are on full display. Guests at the Arctic Snow Hotel got to enjoy green, pink, purple, and white lights as all these colors danced across the sky for several hours. Many locals said this was the strongest they've ever seen the aurora borealis in months.
Little spark that occurs, this release of energy that we see in the form of light. And so now imagine that overhead there are billions of these tiny little sparks going on. And the sequence of light, these little flashes of light, are what we see and call aurora. So if you're living in northern Canada or northern Scandinavia, northern Russia, around the North Magnetic Pole, and you look up, what you're seeing is this waterfall of particles that are following a magnetic field line into Earth's upper atmosphere.
The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, says northern lights like these seen in Finland earlier this month could be visible from several states, including from upstate New York. Scientists say the activity is expected due to a solar flare that erupted on Wednesday. The eruption caused NOAA to issue a moderate geostorm watch.
This is a bucket list event for me.
Isn't it?
I need to go see this, and I need to make the time.
That is not a computer animation,
no.
By the way.
It's just so cool, isn't it?
And it's something the locals say this is the most intense it's been in months. Mm-hmm. So they see it so regularly, and it's on our bucket list. We got to get there.
Right now, these disturbing photos have experts on high alert. It is a dire situation along the California coastline. So what is happening in our ocean?
Yeah, dying dolphins are washing ashore for no apparent reason right now.
Right now, these disturbing photos have experts on high alert. It is a dire situation along the California coastline. So what is happening in our ocean?
Yeah, dying dolphins are washing ashore for no apparent reason right now. KCAL9 Orange County reporter Stacy Butler is live at one of those beaches in Corona del Mar with that story. Stacy.
Susie and Jeff, rescuers are calling the number of sea lions and dolphins that are washing ashore on Orange County beaches like this one here in Corona del Mar drastic and unexpected. Tonight, many want answers.
It's just heartbreaking.
From Laguna to Huntington Beach, an unprecedented number of dolphins are washing ashore, dead or so sick they have to be humanely euthanized.
It's a shock. They're our friends. Are you kidding? I've rode waves with dolphins before.
Definite cause for concern.
In the last 2 weeks, the Pacific Marine Mammal Center says 5 common dolphins and 1 bottlenose dolphin have washed ashore. 2 more were reported but washed back out to sea near Seal Beach. Compare that to just 1 dolphin last year. Scientists are desperate to find a cause.
Anything from, viruses, bacteria to toxins.
It's not just dolphins. The number of California sea lion rescues has doubled. Rescue teams suspect the culprit may be a harmful algae bloom reported off the coast of Newport Beach, fed by runoff we've had from recent rains.
I saw how filthy the oceans were after the rain. It was brown and red. I would not go in there.
That water was really dirty, especially at river jetties in Newport. Awful. Just brown, mucky. And then my friends were surfing down here. I didn't surf on the dirty days, but they said there's all kinds of things floating in the water. So very dangerous and very contaminated.
I know there's a lot of runoff. And when I'm out there, I do see a lot of subsurface garbage, if you will. Papers, plastic bags, things like that.
It makes me worried because my dog goes in the ocean, so it makes me worried if there's something going on that we may not know of. So yeah, it does worry me.
Sight a person would never
This morning, a viewer alerted WHNT News 19 about a scene that looked straight out of a movie. More than 60 dead European starlings were scattered across a small portion of Moores Mill Road in Huntsville.
It appeared that they'd all died at the same time. And an expert at Auburn University said he suspected the birds could have been exposed to poisonous fumes. And we found a driver who actually witnessed what happened to the birds.
And the driver says there's nothing for the public to worry about. WHNT News 19's Kelly Smith has the update.
Birds just scattered everywhere. It was like a bomb exploded.
A Meridianville woman was in for an alarming surprise Monday afternoon as she left the grocery store.
We had left Kroger and was headed towards 72 on Moores Mill Road.
And that's when Sheila Price says several large flocks of birds caught her attention. She says they were flying in a strange pattern near the road. And a few seconds later, one large flock dove straight into a white Chevy pickup.
One swarm of the birds just looked like it attacked that truck. They just swooped down real quick and hit the truck.
Why did you think it was important to come forward and tell WHNT News 19 your story?
Because I was reading on your post and a lot of people were worried that are residents there that some kind of gas or toxic fumes or something was, probably going to endanger them. And so I wanted to come forth and let everybody know what really happened to the birds.
But what really happened? Why would so many birds dive bomb a car? I asked Auburn's curator of birds, Dr. Jeff Hill.
There was probably a life and death chase where the birds were imminently going to get caught and eaten.
He says when birds are in danger, they fly in tight formations to try and protect themselves.
And then they fly really low and really fast, and that's where they can make mistakes and hit windows in the truck, because it's really light and death.
We couldn't believe it, a dozen. And now, after another week, there's 50 birds. It's unbelievable. I've been here hiking around this lake for maybe 17 years, and I've never seen it like this.
What's killed dozens of ducks in a southeast Calgary park? That's the mystery the city, along with wildlife officials, is trying to unravel.
Wayne Clark and his partner Heather Hicks made the grim discovery last week and say each time they've returned, there have been more dead birds.
Life on the land is never easy, but what graziers in northwest Queensland are going through right now is something else.
It's a bit unexplainable, to be honest. It's just cattle everywhere.
For decades, Western Queensland has prayed for rain, but this is cruelty on an unimaginable level.
I've never seen anything like it.
A disaster unlike they've ever seen. 7 years of drought, praying for rain, and then so much of it fell, their livestock and livelihoods have been washed away.
But for all its destruction, the transformation of the region from Dust Bowl to inland sea simply is incredible.
Well, the dire situation in the northwest of Queensland is now being described by property owners and graziers in that area as the single worst loss of cattle life in Australian history. It's now believed more than 300,000 animals have perished as a result of this major flooding event, a flooding event that continues.
Western Queensland is facing the greatest livestock disaster in Australian history, with around 500,000 head of cattle killed in the flood. Farmers who've been hand-feeding stock during the last 7 years of drought are now dealing with stock losses on a mass scale.
che si rischia veramente di non farcela più. Comunque domani chiederemo lo stato di calamità cittadina e chiediamo che ci diano una mano perché qui i costi sono tanti. Abbiamo bisogno che tutti ci diano una mano e bisogna essere tutti uniti per affrontare questi che sono evidentemente gli effetti dei cambiamenti climatici. Domani tutte asili, scuole, primarie, secondarie, tutto chiuso, è bene che la gente stia a casa.
In the Netherlands, a terrible scene is playing out on the coast. An estimated 20,000 seabirds have died en masse, with hundreds washing up each day. The birds usually spend their entire lives at sea, and scientists are now using the remains to try to determine the causes, but no conclusions have yet been reached. Bad weather has been cited as a possible factor, and it's unclear whether a recent container spill that littered the coast with debris may also be linked.
7 ducks and geese are found dead in this park. The official explanation is that they died from cold exposure and starvation.
Yeah, so when I opened the ducks, they had no body fat, and also their breast muscle was severely atrophied, so they'd lost a large amount of muscle mass. And then finally, they had very little food in their stomach and intestines. And one of the birds had indication of impaction of its intestine with really dense fibrous food material, and to me that tells me that bird wasn't able to access its ideal food types, so it was eating things that it normally wouldn't eat, probably out of desperation.
humpback whale who was found washed up in the Amazon jungle in Brazil.
A 7-meter humpback whale, Jeannie, was found washed up in the Amazon jungle recently. It's believed the young whale may have starved to death and been pushed inland by tides into the jungle, which was about 15 meters from the shores. The actual discovery came about because researchers had noticed a flock of vultures circling around something that turned out to be the whale carcass. BuzzFeed explains that whales in the Atlantic either spend their summers in the north near Greenland or in the south near Antarctica. It's not clear which camp this whale belonged to, but it's definitely not normal for him to have been in the area at this time of the year. They're now conducting studies based on that carcass to find out more.
Encalhou aqui em Soure, na praia do Araruna, mas eu imaginei que ela estivesse na praia mesmo. Estamos chegando aqui na praia do Araruna, local chamado Morro do Padre.
Now a giant humpback whale has been found washed up on a Brazilian beach some 15 meters from the ocean.
The actual discovery came about because researchers had noticed a flock of vultures circling around something that turned out to be the whale carcass. BuzzFeed explains that whales in the Atlantic either spend their summers in the north near Greenland or in the south near Antarctica. It's not clear which camp this whale belonged to, but it's definitely not normal for him to have been in the area at this time of the year. They're now conducting studies based on that carcass to find out more.
Concerns about something called zombie deer disease, and it's affecting deer in more than 20 states, including some that border Alabama.
Zombie deer disease. The number of cases is actually up across the country and right here in Utah.
The disease was first discovered back in 2002.
There are currently 24 states with infected animals. That's 241 counties nationwide, and 7 of them are right here in Utah.
Officials say there are not any recorded human cases, but the disease has been found in deer, elk, and moose in about 26 states.
Infected deer have been reported in Mississippi and Tennessee.
We're just waiting for him to turn. We were waiting here so that we made sure we took a good broadside shot at him.
Yes, this is my first one.
On the first day of deer season.
Where were you hunting at today?
Crews are looking for zombie deer. All right, maybe that's not what they call it.
All right, well, thank you.
But they understand where the nickname comes from.
If the deer looks sick, it's probably sick. They look very lethargic, so I guess that is zombie-like, slobbering and drool.
Wandering around aimlessly.
A recent study shows the number of insects around the world is declining rapidly, adding such a trend could have what it calls a catastrophic effect on the environment.
Scientists say 40% of the world's insect species could go extinct within the next few decades.
The report was one of the first to study this on a global level.
One of the most noticeable insects that you might not notice as much anymore, butterflies, right? The monarch butterfly, they say, is down 75 to 85% in population in the United States just in the last 10 years. Other things that seem to have diminished over the years?
Seeing moths at your lights on the porch and seeing fireflies and seeing butterflies in the daytime.
40% of insects worldwide are declining at this point.
Jessica Beckham explains studies have also shown that because there are millions of undiscovered insect species, we are likely losing unknown species of insects every year.
It's startling because they are the base of many of our food chains. So they serve as food for many different organisms, and they also provide lots of ecosystem services.
The old Florida statement was you take all the bees out of our environment, out of our world, in 4 years we'll follow. We got to protect them. We got to protect them the best we can.
It's the integrity of our planet that is at threat here, because all our biodiversity is interlinked. If we lose our biodiversity, we're in deep trouble.
We're going to see ecosystem collapse worldwide. Many different ecosystems will be collapsing as insects continue to decline.
You might not think that this has much effect on you, but an environmental and ecology professor at UTSA says it is an issue that affects
everyone.
As much as people don't like finding creepy crawlies like this weta in their backyard, they play an integral part in keeping our ecosystems intact. In fact, without them, there would be no us either.
They do pollination, seed dispersal. They make everything that once lived into compost. They heal the soil, make it fertile. They do dung removal.
The little critters that keep the world as we know it operating.
If you've been outside today, you've probably been blown around by those strong, gusty winds, but they're not only wreaking havoc here in our area. Check this video out from Ontario, Canada. The extremely cold temperatures combined with the strong winds caused ice to blow from the Niagara River over a retaining wall and then onto a busy highway.
Winds were so strong, they were blowing up chunks of ice. You can see there are thousands of pounds of ice being pushed over a retaining wall. It's a picture there. Some are calling it an ice shove or ice tsunami. Ice and water flooded several nearby houses. It caused road closures as well.
What almost looks like a small avalanche.
Mother Nature's fury forced some neighbors with waterfront property to evacuate their homes yesterday. This is what it looks like.
Right there. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay. Back up. Back up. Back up. Back up. Whoa. Okay, that happened really, really fast. Wow.
Yeah. Told that it was going to be an 80-mile-an-hour wind gusting. We kind of put our guard up, and we see that this is the result.
David Schultz, a longtime resident of Hoover Beach, says he's amazed this massive pile of ice was just shy of hitting his home.
Started building up, started coming up on our patios over here, and it just stopped short of hitting our homes.
Town of Hamburg emergency manager Sean Crotty says this big ice pile formed and came out of nowhere in just a matter of 12 minutes yesterday, caused by a seiche, which happened as a result of a sudden rise.
Cold snap unbearable, but for some photographers, it's an opportunity to capture a natural phenomenon. Light pillars are vertical lines of light that appear to shoot up into the skies, caused by ice crystals in the cold air. Central Alberta photographer Darlene Tanner has been keeping an eye out for them, often in the middle of the night. Obviously. Tanner says she's grateful for this frigid stretch.
But was recently lucky enough to capture a number of them all at once.
Now I saw light pillars, and then I saw moon dogs, a partial moon halo, and then a lunar pillar, and then when I took a picture and I looked at it, there was a meteor over top of the moon. That was pretty crazy. That's like a 1 in a million shot to get.
So did you see it? If you were up late last night or were an early riser, you may have gotten an unexpected treat floating above Pittsburgh.
They call it a light pillar, and you can see why from all of the pictures.
What's that in the sky? It's certainly not a bird or a plane, and it's most certainly not the beginning stages of an alien attack. So what is this? A beam of light hovering over Pittsburgh. The short answer, it's Mother Nature doing her best to upstage Harry Houdini.
I love it. We absolutely love it. We put on 3 layers and we go, because you can see a lot of things out there. 2 weeks ago, we also saw moon dogs with light pillars, with the moon halo, with a lunar pillar, with the moon, Venus, and Jupiter in conjunction all at the same time, and a meteor passed over the top of the moon, all in one shot.
Tanner and her partner have also ventured to places like the Northwest Territories and Iceland to capture images of the Northern Lights.